All right, let's jump into this. Nibiru. Okay, Nibiru, Narabu. I know some people pronounce it differently. Stuff like that. Somebody has asked me a while back to make videos. I have made videos on it before and stuff like that, and my take on it. I tend to be one of those people. I don't like to go too far down the rabbit hole, but some of these topics, you're going to go far down the rabbit hole, and it just kind of is the way it is. Now, that said, I'll just tell you about my experience and my take on the thing. Doesn't mean everything I'm going to be saying is right. And I know when I make these kind of videos, I get all kinds of comments ranging across the board from, wow, this is very cool and enlightening, to, oh, wow, I got stupider by listening to this. And then there's some people, if you don't subscribe to their way or take on it, that it's 100% fact and that's it. I never produce it as it's complete fable or complete fact. I kind of look at it from the gray area in the middle, not just from a black and white stance of, Planet X is real and that's it and that's all, or that no, it's just all BS, and stuff like that. So I don't rehearse these things, so that's just something you're gonna have to deal with. But I'll do my best on it and my take on it, and I'll tell you my experience of what I think uh, I saw. About 2 years ago, I guess it was, maybe two. I think I did a video on it. By the time I got my camera, it was gone. But I don't know if I was looking at Venus in the early morning, like about 7 o'clock in the morning. I looked up. I was just about to go to work, and that's the other reason why I didn't have time to film it. Sun was just coming over the horizon, and I swear to God, I saw a second star there. But it was a lot smaller. It wasn't big like the sun. It was like a second sun there, but it was real small. So I didn't know if I was looking at Nibiru or Venus, or possibly Mercury being illuminated. And but I've heard a lot of mixed emotions on both. No, it's you're when you see that early in the morning, there's only a small window of opportunity to see it, and it's just as the sun is rising, it'll shine off Venus or Mercury, one of the two planets. So some people say that's what everybody's looking at, and everybody says no, that's in Rapid, that's the cover story. So what I'll say is think for yourself. But I did see it once, and I couldn't explain what it was. But my first hunch was Venus. That was my first hunch. But you never know. You never know. So anyway, where does this whole Nibiru, Planet X, which is no longer, you can no really longer call it Planet X, because the problem is that Planet X, meaning 10, X is 10, the Roman numeral for 10. Uh, the problem you have with that is that when I was going to school, there was 9 planets. Now there's 12, or possibly 12, because Pluto is always in debate whether it's a planet or a dwarf planet or whatever. And then you've got Sirius. That little planet. Is it a planet? Is it a dwarf planet? What is it? So there's, you add one, you take one, you add one, you take one, and then I believe it was in 2012 or 2013, or maybe it was 2010. I can't remember when it was, but I remember seeing it, that astronomers had discovered some weird object doing a very unusual orbit at the edge of our, just out past Pluto and Neptune, just way out past there, right? And it was doing this weird orbit, but they couldn't really tell what the object was. And then, of course, there was this other thing found, which they think was a brown dwarf star at the end of our. So it's kind of one of those things. They still don't know 100%, but people say no, that's Nibiru. But then there's all these kind of strange things that keep popping up. So do we have 9 planets in our solar system, or do we have 12? You know what I mean? It depends on who you argue with and what their take is. So like everything, things are always evolving. They're always changing. They're always changing because new information comes in, and there's also unverified information. So there seems to be like everything's kind of up in the air of what's really going on out there, and that's kind of that's the way it should be, because like for example, we know we're on the Earth. We know that as fact. We know we could see Saturn. I've looked at Saturn through telescopes. It's very cool. You can see the rings, and you don't need a really powerful telescope to see the rings on Saturn. I mean, you might not be able to make out everything. And if you get Saturn, I remember it was back in the 90s during, it was a lot of meteor showers that were happening at the time were just spectacular. But my friend and I, we went out. We had this, probably $100 telescope, like at the most, and like we were not only able to see Saturn at that time, but we were also, I forget what they call it, but I think I have it as well. It's when people's vision, like they're still like whatever 20/20 vision that I have, but I'm able to see like specks of dust or really tiny little things like that, and it's something that not everybody has. And there was a guy who was looking at Saturn through a telescope at one point, and he said he saw, spots and stuff like that on the rings and whatever, and same with on Jupiter, he saw spots and everything, and everybody thought he was crazy. But then, later on, they're like, yeah, but he could see the spots. I don't know what it is. It's maybe just the way my eyes contrast or the way other people's eyes contrast, but it allows you to pick out extremely small details. Doesn't mean you've got Hawkeye vision or whatever, but it's a certain type. I can't remember the name for it. But anyway, I've got that too. So even by the naked eye, I could just see the rings of Saturn with the naked eye. Like I could make it out, barely, but you can make it out because it's just just a glowing bright object. But and then in the telescope, I could clearly see the rings, and even my friend was able to clearly see the rings. It looked pretty cool. It looked very cool. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you're looking at these objects, okay, you could say, okay, I've seen Saturn with my own eyes. I know what it looks like. Stupid PC, hopefully that wasn't too loud. And I know it's there. I know I've seen it with my own eyes. How big is it? What does it look like? All the extreme details that I don't know. You'll have to go and look at, NASA photos for that. I know some people don't like NASA or whatever. I don't think NASA lies about everything, but I think there's a lot they're holding back. That type of thing. Now, when it comes to Planet X, again, Cirrus in 2015, I don't know if the probe got there yet. That's supposed to be taking pictures of that thing. I want to, I got to follow up on that. But, again, this is something that, is it a planet? Is it not? It could be a planet that we could probably have. It's really tiny. Which often puts these things into debate, right? So when we're looking at those things, okay, we know they're there. We know that people are looking at them. We don't have all the details on them, but we know that the details have changed. The history books and science books have changed so many times since I was a kid. It's not funny. So where does this whole thing start? Well, it goes back to the ancient civilizations of the Sumerians and the Akkadian. Akkadian Egyptians, Akkadians. So it's not like Akkadians, like Akkadian, like South America, not South America, but the southern United States Akkadians. But it's a different, Egyptian Akkadian. So anyway, I'll just read some of the stuff I got here, and we'll go from there. The alternative history of the world, based upon the Sumerian historical texts, that puts into question what may be currently understood. Sumerian history was recorded 2,500 years before Moses wrote the Pentateuch, and lacks the religious overtones that we've been taught. By reading these blogs, you will be able to go back in time and read their truer history. Sumerian text speaks of a star they refer to as Nibiru, the star of Marduk. The actual meaning of Nibiru translates place of crossing, and as many Sumerian words have more than one meaning, Nibiru can also mean crossing place, as in a road juncture. When Nibiru is used as a star, it is subscribed with Amol. Amol is a Sumerian meaning for heavenly body, such as a star, planet, or constellation. Planets in Sumerian also have a connection to God. So Nibiru was also Sumerian. Lost my spot here. Where it goes. Nibiru was also Sumerians. The location of Nibiru and the color of the star is also stated in the Sumerian text. Red star, which stands for the south after the gods, the night have been finished, divided the sky in half. This star is Nibiru. Let Nibiru be the holder of the crossing place of the heaven of the earth. Sorry, I'm just gonna scroll down. Okay, from the text, it seems that apparently, if you are near the equator, as the religious Sumerian was, and look directly south in the early morning sky after the gods of the night have finished, then the red star is seen, as it stands at a crossroads divided the southern sky, hence given the name to the star Nibiru. Refers to the position in the southern sky as midway when looking south. Okay. Many experts of Sumerian text have misinterpreted the following text in believing that Nibiru is either a planet, Mercury, or Jupiter. That was not the original purpose of the text. If Mercury divides the sky and stands there, it's named Nibiru. Notice if the word precedes Mercury to show distinct between the two stars. Uh, what the writer was trying to convey was that early Sumerians were often confused between these two stars, Mercury and Nibiru, possibly because they were seen in close proximity of each other, or their similar color. So the text was telling observers that if the star looks like Mercury but stands fixed in the middle of the southern sky, it's not Mercury, it's Nibiru. When the star of Enlil has finished, one big star, although it is light is dim, divides the sky in half and stands there, then it is the star of Marduk. Jupiter keeps changing in positions in the sky. And yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, again, the writer of these texts is trying to distinguish these two stars. Nibiru continues to be perplexed the Sumerians in that it looks like the planet, but is unlike planets. It is fixed in the southern sky, stands there. The text is comparing its movement to Jupiter, which crosses the sky. These texts, as not as many suggest, refer to Nibiru as being Mercury or Jupiter, but simply comparing Nibiru to these two planets. It can be said that Nibiru does not exist in our present-day southern sky. So what was Nibiru? There was only four things in our solar system that move across the sky, and they are planets, moons, comets, and asteroids. But Nibiru is fixed in the sky, so it implies elimination. Nibiru cannot be any of these four. So what were the ancient Sumerians seeing in their southern sky? There is no Sumerian text linking Nibiru to the Anunnaki. There is no text suggesting that Nibiru is the home planet of the Anunnaki. There is one piece of coincidence that both the Anunnaki and the star Nibiru both vanish from existence soon after the flood occurs. My three theories, they may be seeing remote to some. One, Nibiru was a planet. For some reason, that planet exploded and is seen in the asteroid belt. The Anunnaki were therefore destroyed along with it. It seems to be the simpler answer and explains everything. A German astronomer, Heinrich Olbers, in 1807, in his efforts to find the seventh planet using Bode's law, found two asteroids instead. He would later remark, could it be Sirius and the Pallas are just a pair of fragments of one greater planet which at once occupied its proper place between Mars and Jupiter. Okay, so get rid of some of this here. Okay, almost done here. The asteroids belts fall in regions as predicted by Bode's law. That should support a planet. Is this the seventh planet at once existing ancients saw and described in their skies? Those continued to disregard this. One often to the fact that the asteroid belt's total mass is too small to account for a planet. That's a valid point, but one must consider that most of the planet's materials would have been consumed by the sun, and larger amounts collide with the planets and moons and solar system. Also, a large number of Trojan asteroids follow each planet's orbit. The Earth, Jupiter, and Uranus all have plotted or Trojan asteroids. The point of intrigue is that the Sumerians knew of 5 planets from Mercury to Saturn, not counting Earth, but they always visualized 7 planets in their art. The point is that Nibiru was a planet with the Earth, including that would give them their 7th planet, knowing planets up to and including Saturn. Below, the ancient stele of Adanaria, found in Iraq in 1967, showed the upper left of 7 orbits representing the 7 known planets. And though to all respect Enlil The symbols of the crest moon representing sin and the 8-point star of Venus venerating the goddess Ishtar, and upper right is the winglet chariot of the gods, and a number of symbols representing various gods. All these symbols were produced over and over again in the ancient reliefs and steles. The steles of Sennacherib below shows the king standing before the symbol of the gods, including the winged chariot of the gods and the 7 planets. Alrighty, and I'll probably have that in my pictures. You'll see it there. The star civilization. The ancient stars exist in the southern sky that thought to begin the advancement of mankind knowledge. From the study of this star, early mankind developed mathematics and science. A star is basically a fusion reactor taking 2 hydrogen atoms with the help of a tremendous heat and pressure producing helium atom. As the giant furnace runs out of hydrogen atoms and supergiant red star is produced. A supergiant red star is very bright and very large, over 1 million times brighter than the sun and over 1,000 times larger. This giant state lasts for a considerable time until the giant red star goes supernova. It explodes, disappears. The result is an expanding gas that often forms into recognizable nebulas. The Vela supernova explodes some 11,000 to 12,000 years ago, and all that is left is expanding gas that can be seen today is the Pencil Nebula as seen below. Oh, sorry, there was pictures on this one. I guess, yeah, okay, won't be seeing those pictures. Anyway, what is often of interest, this supernova is the existence at low in the southern sky over the Persian Gulf, midway across the southern heavens. Prior to going supernova, this red giant gas star would have been very visible from ancient Sumerian. Brighter and larger than Venus. Vela supernova is very close to Earth, being only 800 light years away. The existence of a giant red star is collaborated by the Sumerian calendar, which begins in 10800 BC. And the Sumerians wrote extensively of this red star that was fixed at the crossing roads of the southern sky. Not a planet, but a red star that now no longer exists. All this points to is the fact that Nibiru was a giant red star of Vela before it gone supernova. The Sumerians wrote about it. Nibiru was not a Sumerian myth or a children's story, but it existed and was studied by the ancients. Third, the Nibiru was seen by the ancients and cannot be seen today. Maybe indicate that it still exists, but we're unable to see it for whatever reason. It is possible that Nibiru has simply slipped back in time so that we are no longer able to see this planet. It's like arriving at a location where you're meeting your friends, but he's 10 minutes late, and he's always 10 minutes late. So in effect, you will never see him. The omega symbol may be that link. The link connecting another timeline to the ancient Anunnaki in their reliefs were pointed upward. As they saw something, they can now be seen that was otherwise hidden, and in the reliefs below. Again, there were pictures where they in effect look back in time while being in present. Was this the two worlds, the two different states of being that they were trying to depict between the tree of life? Well, that's a possibility. Okay, and just to finish up, then we'll get into some speculation into two reliefs. Well, I guess a lot of this is speculation too. In the two reliefs above, the taken of the Assyrian places walls called Kala. We can see the two Anunnaki on either side of the Tree of Life. Again, they're pointing to the throne chariot above, as if to say, look, we can see it. That is a similar reliefs reoccur time and time again. The ancient people were simply engraving what they saw, and for the most part not having understanding of what they were drawing. In above relief, we were seeing the Anunnaki on either sides of the tree of life, eternal life, pointing up, if the drawing our attention to the throne chariot, as if saying, "Can you see it, or can you see me?" Uh, what originally appeared as landing feet of the throne chariot of the gods are now pulled down as if they were extended cables with the Omega symbol at each end. These are not landing feet, but they are means of which the Anunnaki are able to see the transfer of the underground world to our world. The figure of the left in the underworld to see the figure to the right is the world through the tree of life. In Sumeria, there and in many ancient societies, the tree of life and phallic symbols represents the erect penis. Ooh, okay, and from its eternal life grows. Well, I guess that's kind of right, yeah. Tree in Sumeria language is the same word as penis, and Sumerian language also used to use the same word for whatever as the word semen. Water, irrigate water as was the source of life of all, the seeds of life, and represented eternal life. The Assyrians' relief above again, we see two gods kneeling between the tree of life in honor of the chariot of the gods. Again, the lines of the chariot, sun, disk, and the omega at each end. Was the Asbu the means the exit the entire between the two worlds would not move back to the different timelines eternal of not move back to the different timeline extend your life, hence the perception that the Anunnaki live much longer than our mankind on Earth. The Nibiru could still exist today, but only through the special set of circumstances as long as we see them to the universe as it really is. Is this the same for the Earth, hidden a dark secret place where no man may find? Are we unable to find the secret place simply because we lack a technology to see what is hidden? Time will only answer. Okay, well that's all I got written there. Okay, well, like anything, everybody has a different take on what's going on there, but that kind of gives you like a bit of a base of where some of the story developed. A little bit dry there. Okay, and stuff like that. Now, that was in Sumeria. In 2012, we had the Mayan calendar come to its final countdown of its fifth age. And the thing about that was, the hype built around that was the Mayan calendar came to an end. It didn't say why it came to an end. It just came to an end, on when it came, in was it December 21st, 2012, the solstice of, I guess, winter solstice. And the thing is that, there was a whole bunch of hysteria saying that's when planet X was going to come by, but nobody, I don't know if there was anything that really led up to that, like if the Mayans talked about a planet smashing us, because it didn't really say why or Aztec, I always call it the Mayan calendar, but the Aztec calendar, it never says why it stopped. It's just everybody assumed that the end of that age was, catastrophic disaster, but that time went gone, and it's we're still here. That said, there could be many reasons why they ended their calendar there. And whatever, maybe they thought there was no point in going any further. Maybe think of it kind of like, well, okay, well, this is the pattern of the 5 ages. You just start the clock over again when you get to the end of the 5th one. Who knows, right? It's hard to say how they really went about it. But what you can say is that if you go with the Aztecs' 5th age, once you get to the end of this 5th age or 5th cycle or whatever, there's usually they say that's when everything starts over again. And they talk, I think they did talk about some sort of a planetary rebirth, which was usually some sort of a catastrophic thing. But other than that, they didn't really make the direct like that. When this date hits, that's it, that type of thing. So, but a lot of people, thought, well, that's when Nibiru would make its appearance again. Now, that said, there are a lot of objects that seem to be zipping around the sun from time to time, and you can't really say for sure what they are. Are they comets or whatever? And some of the descriptions, again, how much of this stuff is just internet made up, that type of thing, and how much of it is based on science. Well, the Nibiru topic is so in depth and so deep, and it goes down so many rabbit holes that you can't cover it in a short video like this. It's really hard to find a video on Nibiru under an hour long. It really is, because there's just so many things to talk about. But what we can say for sure that yes, people have noticed a lot of strange weather anomalies. Our magnetic field, and I'm going to be talking about the pole shift in another video because it's too much to throw in. It's just too many topics to throw in once. But with the pole shift, there's a lot of things going on our planet right now that suggests that something is pulling on the planet from far away. And if Nibiru is what they say it is, and it's as big as they say it is, about 10 times the size of Earth or whatever it might be, it would probably have some gravitational effects. Now, the thing is that the orbit of Nibiru is supposed to be basically coming up from the southern sky. Like it's going to be coming up like the Sumerians were talking about. So it's going to hit us from the bottom, so to speak. And one thing that has also been happening, we've been getting a lot of strange things happening with the Earth's core. And again, I'll talk about that stuff in the pole shift. But the other thing we've also been seeing is sporadic weather. Not that that's completely unheard of, but we do notice that there's a lot of things on the planet that they're off. Something's not, going right. The sinkholes, I don't know if that's a new phenomenon or not. But I think it might have something to do with the pole shift. And the poles are always shifting. They've been shifting since the birth of the planet. The planet, I know there's going to be flat earthers out there and they're going to trash me on it, but going from the globus point of view, I haven't, you can't avoid talking about flat earth. You talk about making your coffee in the morning, okay, the flat earth is going to come up. I'm not convinced of flat earth yet. I just haven't seen enough to sway me. Yeah, and I would, even if they could 100% prove that the earth was flat, I wouldn't care. I was like, okay, fine. If it's flat, it's flat. If it's round, it's round. But anyway, I know some people are very animated about the flat Earth. I'm not dissing you. I'm just saying that I'm going with the globus thing because everything else around us seems to be round and globed. Nibiru's pretty much seems to be explained as a round planet. Saturn is a round planet. Mars is a round planet. The Sun is a big round ball. The moon is round. Everything is round. So why would we be the exception to the rule? You know what I mean? Like that's just And then of course there's all the other stuff. But anyway, I don't want to go too much. So we're going to go with the idea that the planet is round, and the Nibiru's elliptical kind of strange orbit is going to cross between us and the moon. Is what they're saying. Now, if that happens, and it is as big as it is, it'll probably actually not cross in between us. It's probably going to hit us. So in other words, like two pool balls. It's like kicking a medicine ball at like at a beach ball type of thing. It would be quite catastrophic. So if that's the case, well, I think long before it even gets here, which the trajectory right now is suggesting that it would have passed, just be coming around the edge of the sun in 2015, which we've seen a lot of extra asteroids and meteors in 2015 was a high year. 2016 is the second highest year. In 2015, meteor showers were up by 42%. It's like you go back 100 years, it's like one of the most amount. And in 2016 they were up by something like 24%, and that's still quite a bit. The average was a little bit less than that from year to year. Volcanoes are up by, not by a lot, but they are noticeably up since the 1940s. There was a hard time in the 1940s, late 1940s. You have to understand, everything is so tied in here. Again, with the pole shift in Nibiru, but that type of thing. But the volcanic activity that we're seeing today, it kind of seems that it's at a bit of a peak right now. And the last time it was at its peak is in the 1940s, when it was a lot colder. That type of thing. So it seems the scientists are right on. Again, it's not climate change; it's something else. But whenever we get colder weather, we see more volcanic activity, and we're seeing that. Also, in 2011, earthquake activity was at an all-time high. Now, this also kind of corresponds with a shifting pole, that type of thing. The amount of land loss, or even our, like for example, the North Pole right now might be frozen over, but you can call it Lake North Pole. It was pretty much thawed out. The actual magnetic poles might be moving because something is pulling on it. Now, one thing that is said, particularly they're worried about with the solar flares, is that particularly since some of these solar storms, when they hit the Earth, our magnetic field gets, kind of like blown back a bit. And right now, it's kind of like, if you were to use the Star Trek theme, it's like we're at shields down. So if there is a major, solar flare coming from the sun, and there was a major one that just hit during Christmas. I don't know if it's still hitting now, but we could see like an effect of a complete EMP of the Earth. But also, too, it blows away the protection, that magnetic field on the Earth that protects us from a lot of harmful radiation. At a time when the magnetic poles are shifting, there's a reason why it's shifting. And what I don't know is if it's shifting in the direction of gravitational pull of where Nibiru would be in the sky. Now, by 2018, we should be able to see this thing, because it should be well heading towards us, coming around the sun. So it's got this weird kind of elliptical, comes up from underneath us and does this kind of like slam dunk in between us and the sun, and then way out past Pluto again. And I can't remember how many thousands of years orbit. You can look it up for yourself or whatever that Nibiru is supposed to take. But if it's that close, you've got something really big flying around the sun, and we know the sun is doing some pretty sporadic things since 2011. You've got these big dark spots on the sun, not the dark spots that you learn about in school, when I was a kid. But I mean, like, there's like a third of the sun that's completely hollow. Like it's completely. We are at a solar minimum. We're moving at towards a solar minimum, and the sun does move in cycles. But could that be, the gravitational pull of something on the other side of the sun, just as it's coming over and moving, some of the mass of the sun towards, this other celestial body coming around. So there does seem to be some validity that there's something, just going to be popping up over the sun or underneath the sun or whatever the orbit is, and coming right at us. So there does seem to be evidence of that. And there's also, again, objects that were, basically captured, from NASA on the sun from telescopes and stuff like that, and other research centers, space agencies or whatever, just all these astronomy places. And they are seeing things around the sun that fit the description of Nibiru. Now, there's also satellite images, and I know some people, the flat earthers, don't believe in satellites too. I get that, but the ones that do, again, if you don't believe in that stuff, that's fine. But again, I don't just go with black or white here. I go with whatever I'm showing. So what I'm discussing here is what is shown. So we see that there is something that has a rustic, like body out there, at the edge of the solar system, that they're looking at, and it looks like it's heading this way. Meanwhile, there's something around the sun that looks like it's heading this way. So you've got, again, 12 planets or 12 whatever. Maybe not 12 planets, but whatever this thing is. And the wormwood prophecies come into play here because of the fire and ice and the storm. Now, with the AMS, asteroid and meteors, being when they're showing that these things are on the rise a bit, and again, yes, there's cameras everywhere, so that's a part of it, that people capture the stuff a little more frequently. But you're seeing that. The question becomes, okay, if these meteors that are kind of coming out of nowhere, like the one that blew up in Russia there a couple of years ago, and we've been seeing big fireballs like that in the sky kind of all over the place, and they're never detected when they come in. It's just like, bang, where the hell did this thing come from? Well, some of them are coming from the bottom of the Earth, like they're coming, from the South Pole up. And the question becomes, what's throwing this stuff at us? And one of the descriptions of Nibiru is that it has a lot of debris around it. It might even have some moons around it, or something like that. And it's probably hit enough stuff that it's actually thrown debris ahead of it, meteors, asteroids, etc., etc. So That's the type of thing. And in the Wormwood prophecies, one thing they talk about is basically just raining fire on the earth. Well, meteors would be, and these fallen angels coming in, that type of thing. That's what they talk about. So it is a possibility that Nurabu does exist. I wouldn't doubt that it's a possibility for sure. Am I saying it's an absolute that we're going to get hit by this thing? It's hard to say. I mean, we've had a lot of near misses. There's a Apostle 2029 or whatever that asteroid that's supposed to smack into us, go around us once and hit us on the rebound. Well, we do know things smash into each other, so it's not an impossibility that uh, something that big could fly into us and be on the same path as us. When you think about it this way, okay, well, the odds of an object hitting Earth is not that high, or sorry, not that low. It's the object, stuff hits us, pelts us left, right, center, 24/7. We've got things even the size of Volkswagen Beetles flung into us, and those are usually the bigger one, but they usually skip off the atmosphere and then break up and then whatever. And the real big ones you get to see, but the smaller stuff, the size of like say basketballs or whatever, they burn up long before you can even see it, and that's constant. But if we're at a kind of a magnetic weakening of our magnetic fields, which are showing that they are weakening, then a lot of more of that stuff is going to get through, and that's where the real danger lies. Because if we were to go all of a sudden with no protection, uh, and just have even like pebble-sized, meteors coming at us at 12,000 uh, feet a second, it would be impossible to live on a planet with that much devastation. I mean, everything would just be destroyed very quickly. But the question is what's flinging that stuff at us? And that's where I think the people are starting to notice stuff. Is that seems to be a lot more stuff heading our way. So with that said, it's not easy to say that Nurabu is 100% fact or it is 100% false. Again, I tend to like to not really play the fence on this one, but I can't point to something and say that's it right there. There does seem to be a lot of circumstantial evidence, and I know in some of these photos, some of them are probably photoshopped. That's probably is what it is. And if you don't have a government that's willing to tell you anything, again, how do you get good, accurate data? So really, you can only rely on amateur astronomers who are honest enough to tell you what they're looking at, but they don't have the budget and the equipment to get you good resolution. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So it's really tough to say. And would they tell us? I mean, think about how many lies they just do during, say, like the American election that just passed there. Look at how much lies were put on the mainstream media just during an election. So something that insignificant in comparison to a big, doom planet flying at us. If they're not even willing to tell the truth on that, do you think they would tell the truth on something that actually really would matter to us, or the survival of the planet? I don't think they would. I really don't think they would. And that said, too, it's also these elites that are always preparing for some sort of, again, there's a lot of things going on in the world, such as, them trying to start war with Russia and China and stuff like that, and I cover those videos too. But the thing is that all these, underground bunkers that are getting built by the world elites, I like the way one guy puts it, the Titanic theory. Basically, elites go into the lifeboat, basically the steerage goes to the bottom, and we're the steerage. And that is kind of true. These people don't think of, they have a weird mindset that, well, we can never tell people the truth because they can't handle it, and because they can't handle it, it'll be chaos, and we won't be able to get out first. So that's kind of the mentality they go with. So we can't rely on them. That I can say for sure. You can't rely on the mainstream media. They call everything that disagrees with them fake news. You know what I mean? So that type of thing. It's really hard to get accurate data on this Nurabu thing, whatever it might be. Maybe it is as simple as, okay, the Sumerians witnessed a star go supernova, and it was, they could see it at the time, but it was long gone by the time they see it, like a shooting star, so to speak. But that's the light passing by. That star's probably died millions and millions of years before you see it. That type of thing. So, but that said, the sporadic craziness that we've been seeing in the weather and I mean, right now there's, and I'll cover it in the pole shift because I don't want to get too much into that because I just want to stick with the Narabu. But the amount of earthquakes, for example, New Zealand has been rumbling for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, or a month or more, uh, or even maybe even more than that from making this video. It's like it's just nonstop, which suggests pole shift. But again, what is pulling on our magnetic fields? What is pulling on? What is changing the behavior of the Earth? Now that said, the Earth changes all the time. That's why, pole shift versus climate change. It's actually, I don't think it has anything to do with climate change. I think the climate is changing because the poles are shifting, and the pole shifts are scientifically proven. And I'll be doing a video on that itself. But is it shifting because it's just a natural cycle of the Earth, which it is what it is, or is there something pulling on the planet, such as another celestial body? I mean, in 2012 or 2013, or maybe 2014, I can't remember what it was, but Saturn and Jupiter are higher in the sky than what they used to be. So either Saturn, their orbits went higher, or our planet shifted. And I'm hearing rumors that the North Pole is now 405 miles off of where it was just a few years ago. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. Look into it for yourself. Like anything, I always say, don't take my word for it. Look into it for yourself. It is really hard to find all the data on it. And as one man, I could research this topic for a year and, probably just come up with a better hour-long video for you. So it's just such a big topic for you to look at for yourself. That's why I don't want to say it's exactly this or exactly that. Again, I haven't seen anything that is 100% conclusive. But did I see what the Sumerians seen? Again, it was 2 or 3 years ago. 7 o'clock in the morning. I got two bright objects in the sky. One very, very close to the sun, pretty much where everybody says Nibiru is. But was that just Venus? That type of thing. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything else like that, that type of thing, and I don't have a telescope of my own. I do plan on getting one day, but like anything, I'm a man of little resources, and I'm, I could live 1,000 years and not get everything done that I want to get done. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, so I got to do whatever I got to do. But looking at the night sky and stuff like that, astronomy has been something that I've always been interested in, although I never could really afford to get into to do it really well. And I do live in an area where I can kind of get away with it because I live up in the countryside and there's not as many city lights here. But you're limited with a ground telescope. Like the stuff that's way out there, you don't see by the naked eye. You need really expensive observatories and stuff like that really could get out there. But even at that has its limitation as well. Like the radioscopes and stuff like that. So really, it's the stuff from space that does it, but there's so little of it out there, really, when you think about it. Like anything, you can find anything in the sky if you know where to look. But that's the thing. It's so big, like you can't even track. NASA, all the space agencies all together can't even track 1% of the sky. So that leaves a lot open, you know what I mean? So that type of thing. If this Narabu thing is out there, and whatever it might be, a dwarf star or planet or who knows, big ball of space cheese, who knows, whatever it might be. If it is going around the sun there now, we should be able to see this thing probably by 2018 without a doubt. The problem is when it shows up. Like, for example, if you can only see it just as the sun's coming, the sun makes it very hard and difficult to see things because it's so bright. But on the other hand, if you're in the part of the Earth where you could see this thing coming at us before, before the sunlight. If you're lucky enough, then we might be able to pick out what it is and figure out exactly where it's going. But that said, even if it was going to smash into the planet, there's not much we could do if it did. Like, I mean, if it was going to hit us in the next 2 years, really, there's nothing humanity could do to get out of the way. There's something 10 times our size. There's nothing we could do. That said, maybe the plan B is what the world leads. They probably have. I'm sure they probably would have like secret space shuttles and stuff like that. You think of all these like the F-35 fighter and NASA programs. Where a screwdriver is $300, that type of thing. Well, that screwdriver is probably not $300. They probably. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people, just being corrupt or whatever, but they're probably using that as black project money to build things so that they can, they can have lifeboats, a new NOAA project, that type of thing. So it's hard to say what's out there, but they would never tell us if there was. Like if they knew that this was an absolute, they would never tell us if there was. Now that said, I'll just finish up on saying that there were people that used to discuss this way back in the 70s and in the 50s. They used to actually refer to Nibiru as a planet, and then all of a sudden it disappeared from the books. That is some of the rumors out there. So yeah, we used to talk about it all the time in my class because we didn't know what it was. That type of thing, and everything has been dismissed ever since. But we know about revisionist history all the time, right? So there's accounts of people talking about that. There's whistleblowers from NASA saying yes, it's out there, but how many of them are sensationalized? For example, I don't listen to Steve Quayle very much or whatever, but he's interesting to listen to from time to time. But he brings out everything as absolute fact. That yeah, Nibiru's there, it's a fact, it's whatever. But you never ever get to see the 100% conclusive evidence, right? And I guess that could be said about anything, and the flat earthers will probably throw that at me, I'm sure. Again, I'm going to do videos on the flat earth too. It's just I'm not convinced yet. I mean, I haven't seen enough to show me that the earth is flat. And I don't know why it would, well, I guess it would matter to a degree, but, because then you think of things differently, sure. But I'm not really interested in the flat earth. Nibiru, like you could survive on a flat Earth, but Nibiru, yeah, that's kind of a pretty doomed scenario, that type of thing. Build me my space cruiser now. I gotta get off the planet. But that's what it might come to. It might like look at all these celebrities dying in 2016. Don't you find it kind of suspicious that maybe some of these people? But then again, why would they take old people onto a star planet finder? You know what I mean? Some sort of a spaceship. They would make sense to take people that old. You'd be taking young people. You'd be taking people that could, live generations on a, be young enough to have kids and live generations on a starship, that type of thing. But are we capable of building a starship? Yes, we're capable of building one. Have we built one? I doubt it. Considering the way the human nature works, nobody be, the world elites, they're greedy, they'll build bunkers, but they're not forward thinking enough to say that we don't need to build bunkers, we need to build starships, because if something's going to smash into the planet, we don't want to be on that planet when we get run over by a dump truck, you know what I mean? The galactic dump truck. Nibiru should have been called the galactic Mack truck, you know what I mean? Just smashing into other planets. So again, but there probably is people that are worth saying that's how we got to do this. We got to basically find a new place to live, and that's where Cirrus can come in. That's where other, Titan maybe, because we could make it to, let's say it didn't hit Mars, we could make it to Mars in 3 years. It's not a matter of why we're not there already. It's a matter of will. It's not really a matter of money, because again, you could have a nationwide make work project. For the money they spend on war, we could be colonizing space quite well by now. You know what I mean? Billions and billions of dollars, and you don't need to make things that are billions and billions of dollars. Again, why are we not there already? They're talking about putting people in Mars by 2023, and it's still just on paper. Like, you're telling me it's still on paper? Yeah, it's like, yeah. Oh, it's too expensive. Again, the bureaucracy. But with all these, depending on how much, if Nibiru's where it is, if it's out, again, because you're getting two conflicting stories, really. One, that there's something at the edge of the universe, and so you're getting, or sorry, at the edge of the solar system, and you're getting something, it's coming around the sun. So there can't be two Nibiru's, right? That type of thing. There can't be two. Well, maybe there is. You never know. So anyway, I don't know. I guess I'm going on long enough, but I would say this. I guess I'll just finish up in saying this. Wherever you stand on the argument in Nibiru or whatever, what I like to do with my videos, I know they're not as professional as some people would expect from a free internet show, but what I would say is this: is whatever links you find, whatever take you want, I never censor my comments on purpose to keep the thing open, and you can put on my video if you got links. By all means, links. I know YouTube has changed over the couple of years. Where you used to do response videos to everybody. I used to love that because you could just link it right to everybody else's video. But then people just started to abuse it. Like, it's like, here's my makeup video I'm going to put on just because this video has high views, and I'll just link it to that. But I don't mind people doing stuff like that. By all means, do that. That's what this platform is for. And I'm always open to the discussion. Try to keep it as civil as you can. So even if you don't agree with everybody, that's fine. That's I don't really care if people agree 100% on anything. I just think these are very fantastic and interesting topics. So yeah, they might be a little bit down the rabbit hole for some people, but I think there is, again, because I can't refer to it all. I know a lot of people bash me for not putting a lot of links in my well, you got to show every link you have, or whatever your the credibilities, whatever. But I'm like, that's why I say go look at it for yourself. So basically, I'm just giving you, like anybody else that talks about this, here's kind of what I found. Go search the points that I talked about. You can go look at those individually, and you'll find hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of just on one thing, like the magnetic effects of Nibiru, or the size of Nibiru, or the Sumerian text on Nibiru. You can just find, uh, again, but conclusive data that I haven't found. But does seem to be something out there, that is described like the Sumerians kind of described it. So what is it? What is it? What is this thing? We do know it's big, the one on the edge of the solar system. But the thing is that we do know the universe is full of planets and stuff like that, and things go on all kinds of orbits. So, maybe our solar system is much, 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 much bigger than we, give it credit for. And we know things are moving around, so it's like space pinballs is going to be a matter of time, right? So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next to that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourselves, be true to others. Always, always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day. Hey, hi, and welcome. All right, let's jump into this. Nibiru. Okay, Nibiru, Narabu. I know some people pronounce it differently. Stuff like that. Somebody's asked me a while back to make videos. I have made videos on it before and stuff like that, and my take on it. I tend to be one of those people. I don't like to go too far down the rabbit hole, but some of these topics, you're going to go far down the rabbit hole, and it just kind of is the way it is. Now, that said, I'll just tell you about my experience and my take on the thing. Doesn't mean everything I'm going to be saying is right. I know when I make these kind of videos, I get all kinds of comments ranging across the board from, wow, this is very cool and enlightening, to, oh, wow, I got stupider by listening to this. And then there's some people, if you don't subscribe to their way or take on it, that it's 100% fact and that's it. I never produce it as it's complete fable or complete fact. I kind of look at it from the gray area in the middle, not just from a black and white stance of, Planet X is real and that's it and that's all, or that it's just all BS and stuff like that. So I don't rehearse these things, so that's just something you're gonna have to deal with. But I'll do my best on it, and my take on it, and I'll tell you my experience of what I think I saw. About 2 years ago, I guess it was, maybe two. I think I did a video on it. By the time I got my camera, it was gone. But I don't know if I was looking at Venus in the early morning, like about 7 o'clock in the morning. I looked up, I was just about to go to work, and that's the other reason why I didn't have time to film it. Sun was just coming over the horizon, and I swear to God, I saw a second star there, but it was a lot smaller. It wasn't big like the sun. It was like a second sun there, but it was real small. So I didn't know if I was looking at Nibiru or Venus, or possibly Mercury being illuminated. But I've heard a lot of mixed emotions on both. No, it's when you see that early in the morning, there's only a small window of opportunity to see it, and it's just as the sun is rising, it'll shine off Venus or Mercury, one of the two planets. So some people say that's what everybody's looking at, and everybody says no, that's in Rabbit, that's the cover story. So what I'll say is think for yourself. But I did see it once, and I couldn't explain what it was. But my first hunch was Venus. That was my first hunch. But you never know. You never know. So anyway, where does this whole Nibiru Planet X, which is no longer, you can no really longer call it Planet X, because the problem is that Planet X, meaning 10, X is 10, the Roman numeral for 10. Uh, the problem you have with that is that when I was going to school, there was 9 planets. Now there's 12, or possibly 12, because Pluto is always in debate whether it's a planet or a dwarf planet or whatever. And then you've got Sirius. That little planet. Is it a planet? Is it a dwarf planet? What is it? So there's, you add one, you take one, you add one, you take one, and then I believe it was in 2012 or 2013, or maybe it was 2010. I can't remember when it was, but I remember seeing it, that astronomers had discovered some weird object doing a very unusual orbit at the edge of our, just out past Pluto and Neptune, just way out past there, right? And it was doing this weird orbit, but they couldn't really tell what the object was. And then, of course, there was this other thing found, which they think was a brown dwarf star at the end of our. So it's kind of one of those things. They still don't know 100%, but people say no, that's Nibiru. But then there's all these kind of strange things that keep popping up. So do we have 9 planets in our solar system, or do we have 12? You know what I mean? It depends on who you argue with and what their take is. So like everything, things are always evolving. They're always changing. They're always changing because new information comes in, and there's also unverified information. So there seems to be like everything's kind of up in the air of what's really going on out there, and that's kind of that's the way it should be, because like, for example, we know we're on the Earth. We know that as fact. We know we could see Saturn. I've looked at Saturn through telescopes. It's very cool. You can see the rings, and you don't need a really powerful telescope to see the rings on Saturn. I mean, you might not be able to make out everything. And if you get Saturn, I remember it was back in the 90s during, it was a lot of meteor showers that were happening at the time were just spectacular. But my friend and I, we went out. We had this, probably $100 telescope, like at the most, and like we were not only able to see Saturn at that time, but we were also, I forget what they call it, but I think I have it as well. It's when people's vision, like they're still like whatever 20/20 vision that I have, but I'm able to see like specks of dust or really tiny little things like that, and it's something that not everybody has. And there was a guy who was looking at Saturn through a telescope at one point, and he said he saw spots and stuff like that on the rings and whatever, and same with on Jupiter, he saw spots and everything, and everybody thought he was crazy. But then later on they're like, yeah, but he could see the spots. I don't know what it is. It's maybe just the way my eyes contrast or the way other people's eyes contrast, but it allows you to pick out extremely small details. Doesn't mean you've got Hawkeye vision or whatever, but it's a certain type. I can't remember the name for it, but anyway, I've got that too. So even by the naked eye, I could just see the rings of Saturn with the naked eye. Like I could make it out, barely, but you can make it out because it's just just a glowing bright object. But and then in the telescope, I could clearly see the rings, and even my friend was able to clearly see the rings. It looked pretty cool. It looked very cool. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you're looking at these objects, okay, you could say, okay, I've seen Saturn with my own eyes. I know what it looks like. Stupid PC. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. And I know it's there. I know I've seen it with my own eyes. How big is it? What does it look like? All the extreme details that I don't know. You'll have to go and look at NASA photos for that. I know some people don't like NASA or whatever. I don't think NASA lies about everything, but I think there's a lot they're holding back. That type of thing. Now, when it comes to Planet X, again, Sirius in 2015, I don't know if the probe got there yet. That's supposed to be taking pictures of that thing. I want to, I got to follow up on that. But, again, this is something that, is it a planet? Is it not? It could be a planet that we could probably have. It's really tiny. Which often puts these things into debate, right? So when we're looking at those things, okay, we know they're there. We know that people are looking at them. We don't have all the details on them, but we know that the details have changed. The history books and science books have changed so many times since I was a kid. It's not funny. So where does this whole thing start? Well, it goes back to the ancient civilizations of the Sumerians and the Akkadian Egyptians, Akkadians. So it's not like the Akkadians, like Akkadian, like South America, not South America, but the southern United States Akkadians, but it's a different, Egyptian Canadian. So anyway, I'll just read some of the stuff I got here, and we'll go from there. The alternative history of the world, based upon the Sumerian historical text, that puts into question what many may be currently understood. Sumerian history